Hello, everyone. English. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Coach's Corner. It's been a minute. Wow, I can't speak today. It's been a minute since all four of us were actually on here. So, yo.
Going on.
Happy to be here. Happy to be here. Happy to see everybody. It has been a minute. So how do you guys want to go about this? I'll start, rattle through all my questions, and then we'll go down the line.
Yep.
I only have a few questions today. So my first question is, and I actually got this one a couple of times today. I got this one once in my Instagram, and I got this one once from a client, but in a little bit of a different verbiage. A couple of people, and I actually sent something to you too, Marina. I sent something to you and Riley in the chat about it. But should I avoid gluten entirely or just occasionally?
The way I think
Anybody
about
want to roll with
that,
that?
hold on, is like occasion, like on what occasion? Like, what do they mean by occasionally?
I mean, I don't know. I think, when it
Like,
comes
just
like occasionally, what is
sometimes?
that? Like free meals? Yeah, like once in a while. I think it's one of those things where it's like, what about with free meals? If somebody's on a meal plan, they might have the occasional free meal. Should they be avoiding gluten during that free meal? If somebody is tracking macros and has a little bit more liberty, should they be staying away from gluten all the time? Or can they pick something that does contain gluten that fits within their process and fits within their I mean, we have things within our carbohydrate options from time to time that do have gluten in it. So should any individual stay away from it? And again, the person that asked me on the Instagram is not a client. So I don't know what that means to them. But maybe for our clients, free meals and or the foods that we have on our plans, it might not be gluten-free entirely.
It doesn't matter unless you're celiac. And let's be real, like 99.9% of people aren't even able to like follow a diet or stick in a caloric deficit enough where they shouldn't even be worrying about that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think
Um,
I'll play devil's advocate against
yeah,
that a
I'm on
little
the
bit, and
other side.
I'll say I 100% agree with the idea of like, hey, probably not the priority here if you're somebody that can't be in a caloric deficit and the goal is weight loss. But if we're talking about the way that you feel, I would say, let's put it this way. We know definitively that gluten has a response when it's eaten, right? Like you are going to have an immune response when you eat gluten. Bottom line, plain, sweet, and simple, we're going to have a response to it, especially in the States where we get more of that wheat gluten as opposed to the other types of gluten that we could consume. And if we're going to have an immune response, we know there's going to be inflammation. The body has to respond to it. Period, plain, sweet, and simple, done, stop. Right? Like that's not something that we can sit here and like kind of like go back and forth with or say like opinion versus facts, right? Like the fact is we're going to have a response to it. So at least in my opinion, I would say like I would rather see somebody try to steer clear of that if they're doing everything they can to be able to, whatever, optimize their digestion, optimize their gut, and eventually optimize their physique and their outcomes, right? Like if we're wasting time as far as recovery is concerned, as far as again our immune response is concerned, as far as our nutrient absorption is concerned, I would rather try to avoid it in most cases, but I would also say that occasionally, and this is what I told my client this morning too, like I have gluten at least every week in some way, shape, or form. I would just say most of the time the plan is going to be gluten free. Right. So if you're gluten free 90% of the time and you want to have a cheat meal that has some gluten in it, I wouldn't lose any sleep over that whatsoever because you are, for the most part, avoiding gluten on a regular and consistent basis. I would say rarely do we see many plans that are built for bodybuilding purposes or even general health purposes, plans that are including a ton of gluten containing foods. So I don't think it's one of those things that you need to lose a lot of sleep over. But I would just say that like we spent years and years and years down the gluten topic, right? Where it's like, is it something that we need to worry about? What about this? What about that? You could have absolutely no digestive irritability from gluten whatsoever, but we know it's still having an immune response. And right now, more than any other time in history, we're seeing crazy amounts of autoimmune conditions, overactive immune systems, underactive immune systems. So I think it's definitely something to be considerate of. But I think Matt has a good point there in terms of like, what is the priority level of this relative to everything else we need to be considerate of depending on your goals?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean, right? And I wouldn't argue anything that you said. I'm thinking in terms of like, let's say you have a lifestyle client who literally is, completely out of shape, doesn't diet, eats like shit every day, all that jazz. Am I concerned if they have gluten on their cheat meal or if, I program their favorite type of bread or whatever that has gluten in it because it's going to help them stay on a diet and lose weight? Like, no, not at all. Like those things might be things we prioritize down the line, but like for somebody just getting started, I'm not concerned about that.
And or somebody that's symptomatic. You know what I mean? Like if there's no
Yeah,
symptoms and
yeah,
you're not like bloating or have like a disgusting amount of gas or something crazy like that from it, then yeah.
of course, yeah.
Um, what would you say to someone that has the itch to compete again, but it's been 7 years since their last competition?
Do it.
Wait for me and I'll catch up and then we'll do it together.
Yeah, I mean,
Why
I mean,
not?
yeah,
Yeah, why
why
not?
not? I would say just give yourself time. You know, the bodybuilding scene has changed a lot in 7 years. I think specifically this year too, we're seeing tiny shows and like not really like large amounts of shows. And it gives you an opportunity, or I shouldn't say large amounts. I meant large showings, a large amount of competitors at each show. Am I making sense? So like you have an opportunity to be able to
Wait,
go
what are
out
you
there and
saying?
do well.
But you said tiny.
The shows this year, the shows the last couple of years, but specifically this year have been fucking tiny. Like I
Oh,
mean,
yeah. Like
you have an
turnout.
opportunity to do well, is what I'm saying. Like you could like show up, show out, do the goddamn thing. Start now though for a show this next season. Don't be the guy that
Mhm.
shows up and is like, oh, I'm just here to do a contest prep because I want to get on stage again. Like fucking
Mhm.
focus. Like get into it now. You have shows coming up next year. You're not going to do a show this year. It's way too soon. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And you actually have a real opportunity to fucking do well, and don't worry about your age. Don't worry about how long it's been. Like put in the work, and that's why we love bodybuilding, because it comes down to how hard you work and how much effort you're putting in.
Yeah, and I'm a perfect example of that. I mean, I took off for
That's
8
true.
years, 7 years, got back into it in 2021, prepped, got, like bulked and then prepped for a show in 2022, won an overall, got a second at Easterns, which is, a pretty big regional show. And then I turned pro a year later. So if you do
So
it
do
right,
I.
like you have no idea if you do it right, you have no idea like what the results will be, right? I didn't
Yeah.
think I was going to turn pro that quickly. Are you kidding me? I was just trying to come in and look good.
Well, especially with the difference in time too. Like I don't know how old this person is. I just started following the back, so I appreciate the follow, guy. But bottom line is like if you're in that age bracket where you stopped competing in your 20s and then you started competing again in what late 20s, early 30s, like the bottom line is there you have a lot more potential in so many different ways, whether it's the muscle maturity aspect of things, but also mentally. Like think about the maturation difference mentally there. You know what I mean? Like you could take on such a higher level of commitment, dedication. You know how to train at a different level, better connection with muscle tissue. Like dude, you could really like, surpass anything you ever thought was possible at this point.
True. Good point.
Do you program cluster sets, pyramid sets? If so, when and why?
You got
Pyramid.
some really good
Pyramid is
questions.
up and then back down, right?
It could go either way. It could either be, yeah, like you're pyramiding up in weight or you're pyramiding down in whatever reps, sets, weights. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Depends what who it is, what they need work on, what body part it is, what exercise, right? If I mean, we're talking a competitor, right? If it's a prep and off season, depends on what it is, right? I mean, where's there other volume, right, throughout the workout? Like how are we using that intensifier amongst the rest of the building around the rest of the workouts volume? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've seen some people where they've done like they're doing 5-6 exercises and they're doing drop sets on everything. It's like, are you really maximizing that fucking all out set or the volume you're doing if you're really have like on a fifth exercise of like chest or a fourth exercise, I'd be fucking spent. You know what I mean?
You know what? I'm curious. Does anybody else have a different definition for pyramid sets now that I think about this? Like the way that I think of pyramid sets is like I'll program like 12, 10, 8. Like to me, that's we're pyramiding. You know what I mean? Like because it's starting
I
with like
thought
a higher
pyramiding
number.
was like 12, 10, 8. Like you had to come back down 8 or up 8, 10, 12. Am I stupid for thinking that? Because then it's not a pyramid.
I don't know if anybody else, Matt, if
but
you have any input on that.
Can't you pyramid up or down?
Well, yeah.
I guess, but I would. The only reason why I'm asking is because they put it in like it within their note that they asked. And Sammy, if you're on, you can clarify this for us. But the way that they asked was essentially like it was cluster sets / pyramid sets, as if maybe they're a similar concept
Mm.
the way that she's thinking. But again, I thought pyramid sets was a pretty basic concept of like, but maybe Marina's saying it's up and down, and that's where the intensity comes in. I don't know, but okay, so maybe just for argument's sake here, like let's get rid of the idea of pyramid sets and just stick to cluster sets as kind of like an intensifier. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's a good intensifier. Like I do have a few clients with one.
Yeah, so it's
cluster
up and then
set.
back down or down and then back up.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's just a good intensifier. I
Yeah.
don't think there's any necessary like why do it. I think it's just a solid intensifier.
Yeah, so do I. I've always liked cluster sets. We've always used cluster sets in some fashion. Dr. Scott Stevenson uses a form of cluster sets, which is essentially like, a rest pause variation, where you're taking sets to true and honest failure, which I don't know the definition of a cluster set relative to his verbiage, and I forget exactly what he calls it, but he has his own kind of
I thought it was a
style
rest pause, right? Wasn't it? It's a rest pause.
that's
set, right?
that's essentially what cluster
That's what
sets
I
are.
thought
It's like
was.
rest
Right.
pause sets, but it's like a predetermined concept of like, all right, you're going to do a cluster set of whatever 4 sets. So you're going to rest pause all of those 4 sets versus a rest
Right.
pause just being maybe 1 or 2, whatever. But again, this Dr. Scott has some different concept there, and his training is brutal. But bottom line is, either way, I think that they're extremely beneficial. I just think, again, to kind of Steve's point earlier, it's like, I would just say, like, don't try to create some sort of a training plan that's built all around one particular intensifier. Like if you're doing all of your sets or cluster sets, or you're kind of like fucking abusing it, you know what I mean? It's kind of
Yep.
like now you're not really getting the benefit of the intensity aspect. By the time you're doing that later in a training session, you're probably spent to a degree where it's like, is this really valuable? So again, as far as the when or why, my whole thing with intensifiers is just going to be like, when I have a client that needs that level of volume because they've already built to a certain extent, or they've already shown the ability to be able to train hard, period, then intensifiers in every way, shape, or form, I think, in my opinion, could make or break a training plan as far as like making it fit somebody's needs at their level. Does that make sense? So like if I have a guy like Steve or fucking Matt, like I'm going to have twice as many intensifiers in every single day as somebody that I might have that's, just started and is 22 years old. You know what I mean? If I have a guy that's on 2 grams of gear, I'm going to give him twice as many intensifiers because he has the ability to be able to train at that level. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. You know what I mean? So again, I think intensifiers have their role and have their place. But I mean, at the same time, it's one of those things that I think intensifiers get kind of put in this spectrum of like, is this good? Is that bad? Is this good? Is this bad? Everything could be good. Everything could be bad.
Sounds enticing, Tim.
Indeed.
The 2 grams of gear.
Of course. 2 grams of gear, all coming from orals.
Jesus.
How long do you think you would live if you did that?
Did you see that one guy from 5% Nutrition, the new Rich Piana, died today?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, the guy Gollum.
Oh, yeah. So,
Huge motherfucker. 340 pounds he died at.
Oh my God, dude.
So you'd probably live as long as he did.
That's crazy.
I mean, not bad. 34 years old, he made it too. If you're taking fucking Anadrol every day, you know what I mean? It's a nice trade-off.
I got a question about Justin. I don't know if you guys want to answer it or not. It's about the Olympia.
Whoa, motherfucker! I got one more question to go, dude. You're fucking just gonna step right on my fucking thing like that? Like,
I'm sorry, Dad.
man.
I'm sorry,
The
Dad.
disrespect around here.
I'm so sorry, Dad.
All right, last one, and then I'm done.
Don't give me 20 lashings.
Do you have one? Do you have one gut health supplement that you recommend over others?
Was this pretty much if we had to pick one gut health supplement, what would it be?
Well, that's how I was going to answer the question. I would say no, I don't, because there's
either.
I mean, that's like you're asking for a one size fits all type of concept that really just there's not one there. Like I think somebody might want to hear like digestive enzyme, or even like if you're talking like name brand stuff like Ravenous or like apple cider vinegar in the morning or some sort of drink or concoction or something like that. But it's like I see people all the time recommending like glutamine as like a one stop, like that would fit everybody. But like at the end of the day, it doesn't. What happens if somebody already has? I just looked at blood work for somebody that their white blood cell counts were elevated. That person doesn't belong on glutamine. You know what I mean? It doesn't serve a purpose for that person right now. So it's like, they're like, I think, with everything, like do we really have a one size fits all supplement in any way, shape, or form? Like, I mean, the supplements are something that you gotta like be a little bit more like pointed and a little bit more focused with what you're trying to accomplish. Anybody that's telling you there's a supplement that you take for everything is probably just trying to sell you on their Astroflave code. I'm joking.
They don't even have any gut shit other than glutamine. And
Well,
they got
that joint, the joint one.
Yeah, I mean, my quad tendon definitely agrees with that. But besides that, I told them, like, you guys they have a GDA, but like I told them it'd be great to like get some digestive stuff. You know what I mean? Like maybe like a GI powder, something. But what say do I have?
All right, next one.
No, I'm done. So, Steve, if you want to hop on,
No, I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna shut up.
I got Olympia questions for Justin.
Yeah.
Even though
So,
he's not here.
like I said, you guys want to answer it or?
I mean, what kind? I mean,
What's the
I don't want to
question?
speak for Justin.
It's about Justin and doing the Olympia.
Shoot, Chief.
All right, let me pull this shit up. Okay. So I know a few of you guys are friends with Justin. From a realistic standpoint, friendship aside, where do you see him placing at his first Olympia? That's the question. That's the question word for
I
word.
have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm so
I
not in
don't
it.
know the competition well enough in the classic physique realm. I think that's one of those categories that changes quite often. I think, if the, person that's asking the question wants to know if he's going to place, as high as, whatever, next to CBum or something like that, I would just say, I hope so. But I think, with bodybuilding, we all know it's one of those things when you step on stage and you're at that level, it really comes down to, the comparisons and like being on stage next to those guys and getting compared to some of those guys, could he stack up? Absolutely. And I don't think any of us would argue with that. But at the end of the day, it always comes down to being on that stage, being next to those people. And it's been a while since Justin's been against, that level of competition, so it's just one of those things where gotta find out,
Yeah.
I also think that there's that reality that, I think it is his first time on the Olympia stage, right? So it's one of those
Yes.
things where,
Mhm.
people can say what they want. It kind of sucks that it's a reality I think a lot of us would agree with. But, when you're the first time on the Olympia stage, you're going to get the same look as somebody else that's been there 2, 3, 4, 5 times, 5 years in a row within that top 5,
Fuck.
Son of a mother effing cunt rag. What the fuck, Steven?
Not my fault. This shit did this to you like 3 weeks ago when you were done exploring the fucking United States of America.
Mhm.
I want that clip cut that we just pretty much degraded.
She don't sleep, right?
They're both on.
Hi, girls. I'm good.
Let's see if they don't get cut off.
Are you
You
live?
go back in, Steve?
Yeah, what about you?
Why isn't it? Oh, there we go.
Oh, there you go. Instagram probably heard me make that Camilla Harris comment earlier and decided to kick us off.
Are you watching the debate thing later?
It's tonight?
Yeah, in Philly, my buddy Matt was like, he works in the union, the sheet metal, and they kicked everybody out because they had to close the bridge.
Oh, damn. I'm going to be honest with you, Steve. I am not going to watch that. I'm going to be too busy watching YouTube, falling asleep, watching Good Mythical Morning.
All right. Oh, wait, we're waiting for Matt. Or at least I am. He's not popping up
Okay.
on my end.
What do you guys think on the Justin question.
Wait, do you guys see Matt in here? I don't see him.
And so
Yeah,
my
I think Matt's right
opinion,
here.
Okay,
yeah,
well,
my
I don't see him
opinion,
on my end,
knowing
whatever, but I see him in
knowing
this
the
room, so we're good.
competition well, because I do keep up to date with all
Wait, I
the
want to hear what
shows,
he's
a lot
saying.
of the competitors, since they are
That's
my
so
competitors
annoying.
now. So my opinion is I think a top 10, if Justin comes in like he did at Tampa, I think a top 10 is without a doubt gonna happen. Again, just knowing the competitors and some of the guys he beat, like Gabriel was 11th last year. Like he's no slump, right? Um, Now I think he could be a potential top 5 guy because there's a lot of guys like moving around, right? Of course, we always have like Seabum, Ramon, Urs, Wesley, but after that, I know we have Breon. Um, and there's some other guys coming up like that Jose Ma guy, that One Punch Naz guy. Like I think all these guys, like including Justin, could be in the mix for like a top 6, potential top 5 because Breon does seem to get worse placings every year. I don't necessarily agree with those. I think Breon should be battling out for top 3, honestly. But back to the original point of Justin, yeah, like definitely a top 10 in my opinion, and a potential like top 5, top 6.
Nice.
Yeah, that's
Obviously, does everybody else see Steve frozen? Okay.
Yeah.
now
Hey there,
all
Steve.
of you are spinning.
He's buffering.
Mm.
You see me?
Matt, you have a question you want to throw out there?
I didn't write down my questions and I kind of forgot them.
Oh,
One
wait,
of them
Steve's
was
back.
Can you
You're
see
back.
me?
Steve. Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you going to say about the Justin thing?
I said I agree with Matt. I definitely could see him in the second call out for sure. I think if like 2 or 3 or 4 people slipped, I could definitely see him squeaking into like 6th or 7th for sure. So I definitely agree with everything Matt said. I just think when it's your first time doing something like that, they kind of already got them top 4 or 5 guys. You know what I mean? Like who they're automatically looking at. But it wouldn't shock me at all if they were like, if Justin got 6th place or 7th. It wouldn't shock me at all. His just off structure and his conditioning in Tampa was unreal.
I think there's more potential now over the course of the last couple of years to see somebody come into those top ranks and kind of take one of those top spots
I
and
agree
solidify themselves
completely.
than there ever has been before in the history of the
I agree.
IFBB.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
if
dude,
anybody
the
could do
judging
it,
has
it's definitely him.
changed. The judging has changed like so much, man. Like
Yeah.
back in the day, like Rami would have been reigning for as long as he wanted
Yep.
to, because nobody's really ever like knocked him out that hard. Sean Carito, same thing. Like, dude would be 212 Mr. Olympia till the fucking cows come home.
Yep.
Because that was tight. But like you see him, the guys fucking switch a lot now. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And you see more and more guys come in and they're placing, top 5 their first Olympia, which is good because I think, it's got to be disheartening for an athlete when like you truly did look the look to be compared with some of the best in the world and like, oh, well, it's his first time. We're just going to give him third call out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm glad to see that type of thing is changing.
So Matt, did y'all hear you say you didn't write your questions down?
I didn't, but I remember one of them. It was like, what advice would you give to a new competitor? Pre-prep, during prep, post-prep, just general stuff like that.
So before you want to start, we'll start with before prep, I guess. Make sure financially you're set. Even if you're natural or enhanced, whatever way, make sure you're set regardless, right? Show, hotel, if you have to travel, trunks, NPC card, show fees, coaching fees, all that stuff. Make sure you're not going to go broke for a show. Right. I think we can all agree on that. During the prep, as tough as it may be, especially your first time, when you start to get moody, irritable, tired, cranky, do your best to kind of find a happy place, right? Even if it's just taking a walk, going for a drive, headphones, a show, video game, something, to not take it out on people closest to you, right? And your biggest supporters. That would be probably one of my biggest things during, I would tell people. And then just embrace each day, right? Just know that the harder it feels like it's getting, the worse you feel, that you're feeling, the better you're going to begin to look, and you're going to start to see your hard work pay off day by day as it gets closer. And then afterward, I don't know how many times we can all fucking say this. Do not fuck up your reverse. Do not fuck up your reverse. Like, you know what I mean? I wish we had like a fucking machine where you could just play it in someone's bedroom when they're going to bed. But post show, that would be my biggest, and communicate, right? Like afterward, if you are doing the meal plan and you want macros, or you were doing macros and you want a meal, whatever it is, if you want different foods in your meal plan, if that's what you're doing, just communicate with your coach so you don't go feel like you're mentally going down that slippery slope of wanting to binge and fucking the reverse part up. And get your blood work.
You notice everything.
That was literally everything.
I mean, the only thing I would add to that is like my main thing is just gonna be time, and time in each one of those phases. Like take the time in the off season to be able to grow. Don't hop right into a contest prep. That's literally the stupidest thing that you could do if you want to place well in a bodybuilding show. Take time within your contest prep to be able to protect muscle tissue throughout that process and get as lean and as shredded as you need to be able to stand on that stage and be 100% confident that you're there to compete. And then take time in your post-show phase to be able to allow for proper recovery and reverse dieting, which all of those things are going to need their own individual time frames. And as much as you think that you might have it plotted out, allow for more time when it's necessary, period.
No.
I just say, just remember, it's not that big of a deal. Like don't act like the main character of a movie. Don't fucking sacrifice things you shouldn't be sacrificing, like relationships and shit. It's really just an amateur bodybuilding show that you're gonna maybe get a plastic trophy at.
Yep. Marina, you got any,
Steve?
Marina, you got any questions?
No, I didn't put up a box.
A slacker.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Open this again. How can I lower my AST, ALT levels? And is there any other liver markers I should be asking my doctor to get checked to make sure my liver is healthy before starting my next cycle?
Wait, say it again. I'm sorry. I was reading Sam's question. What was the question?
Sam asked us a question?
AST, ALT.
She said, what was the outcome?
I can't see the comments.
Her question is, what was the outcome with gyno?
What gyno? Who's gyno?
I don't know. So go ahead, Steve. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
To make sure, so pretty much to make sure his liver is good for his next upcoming cycle, how can he make sure his AST, ALT are in good shape? And is there any other liver tests he should be asking his doctor to get checked to make sure that his liver is okay?
The first question I would ask before anything else is like, when he got his bloods done, did he take like the proper time off of the gym? Was he taking like his proper liver health supplements prior to that?
Yeah.
Because like, if you don't do all that stuff, and you don't even need to be on gear, but of course if you're on gear, it's going to be impacted. If you train hard and eat a high protein diet, like your liver markers are going to be elevated.
Yep.
So that's the first question, right? Did he get the blood work taken with the proper prerequisites for getting it done?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't even know who it is. You know what I mean? He doesn't even like follow me or any of us. He just asked the question. Very, very strange. So, yeah. So,
there are, so I don't know what the context is here as far as obviously you guys talked about this, I guess. But I mean, there are other, there's obviously AST and ALT are just the enzymes that we know of pretty consistently, but there's also the alkaline phosphatase that's there regularly. There is the other one that's right there all the time, bilirubin. There is the total amount of proteins in the blood. Like there's a lot to look at there as far as liver health is concerned.
Did you say GGT too? Sorry.
Yeah, GGT is another one that's there. There's a lot of different ones that you could run after the basic ones, but even on your basic metabolic panel, you're going to get that alkaline phosphatase, the bilirubin, the total protein. But yeah, I mean, there's a ton of different things that you could do to be able to improve liver function as a whole, and ultimately bringing down that AST and that ALT.
Yep. I think another thing too, a lot of people don't realize, they'll see their AST and ALT high, and they'll start freaking out. And like Matt said, did you take adequate time off from just giving your skeletal muscle a break to just stop being fucking broken down? And you know, having to just recover, right? Are you hydrated enough when you're getting the blood work? What are you taking for the liver? Also, how much muscle do you actually have? You know what I mean? Someone like Matt getting his AST with the amount of muscle he has right now is going to be possibly higher than somebody that's 160 pounds competing naturally. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. So, but people, you know, especially
The
doctors don't.
drug, the D-ball and Anadrol doesn't help, but
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even honestly, just chronic dieting is going to elevate
I
your
was going to
AST
say
and your
that too.
ALT,
Yeah,
you know?
I was going to say, where are you
Stress.
at body fat wise, and how low is your food?
Yeah,
And stress too. Great, that's another really good one.
yeah.
So yeah, just 100 milligrams of D-ball will fix it.
Amen.
So Sam was asking, should people with gyno get points taken off for
I would
gyno?
say no, but that's only because my gyno is telling me to say that.
I say
No,
yes.
so I agree definitely. Now I think like there's always gonna we expect over time there's gonna be some level of gyno, right? So I think like when you see a very small amount that's like not noticeable, but when it is evident when somebody has their arms up and you could see the breast tissue under their nipple, like that's when it's like, okay, you really need to start taking points off. Because I don't know about you guys, but at least some of the shows that I've been to recently, I have seen guys with like literal bitch tits beating guys that they are not better than to begin with. They might just be bigger and fuller, but it's like it's almost as if the judges don't even care anymore. It's kind of disheartening, at least at the NPC shows.
I actually have seen the opposite, especially at the
Yeah.
larger shows. Yeah, I've
Are you?
seen.
But yeah, so I'm talking like kind of NPC Northeast.
Yeah, I mean, even at the NPC Northeast, we had it happen this year, where we were told that the gyno was definitely a factor in
Really?
a place. Yeah, you know, and at the end of the day, you know, I get it. I mean, to me, it's one of those things where it's like, and again, this is coming from somebody that's been told that you know, it was my gyno was a problem. And it hurt, you know what I mean? I knew it was going to be a problem going in, but it still hurts when you end up taking last place because of it. But the bottom line is, or as part of the issue, you know what I mean? The bottom line is, I think that, you know, to your point, Matt, like when you're in specific poses and that gyno is detracting from your overall look relative to somebody else that's on stage, it is what it is, dude. Like bodybuild, that's that, you know, whatever you want to call that, symmetry, you want to call it presentation, you want to call it, like, if it
It's
fucks
just
up
not
that look.
nice on the eyes at
Yeah,
all.
exactly. When it pulls away from what it is that you're supposed to be looking at and it's distracting in any way, shape, or form, it should be marked down. And if it's not distracting, but it's obviously there to a certain extent, but it's not distracting me from the overall package, maybe, you know, I can look more kindly on it. But if it's distracting me from the overall physique, then obviously it should be marked down, at least in my opinion, anyway.
Steve loves gyno nips, so he doesn't want it to be marked down.
Fucking
I forget the
fucking
nips.
hate
I love
it.
gyno tits, just the big ones that fucking sling everywhere. They're fucking, you know?
Why do we always get back on the topic of nipples?
Oh my God.
What you did, Matt?
Well, we just
There
got
goes again.
now we're done.
Yeah,
on
honestly,
that
at
note-
this point,
Yeah, I'm getting aggravated.
fucking tits, and look what happened.
are we getting back on? I'm pissed off now.
I said, I can't believe that nipples came up and we got kicked off.
Yeah, it was immediate. It was literally
Actually, maybe that does have something to do with it. Maybe nipples are like a banned word.
It
on
said
Instagram.
Kamala Harris and we got kicked off.
no, he said Kamala Harris in before we started recording,
Yeah,
or
before we started
got
recording.
on the live.
Wait, do you really get kicked off for saying? I thought it was like an internet.
Probably.
Oh,
No,
my
I'm
bad,
thinking
my
it
bad,
might
my
be the
bad.
case actually, because it was like immediate.
It was immediate.
Dude, I can't believe it.
My bad.
I'm gonna get us all banned from Instagram. Sorry.
I apologize. I apologize.
What the fuck?
Are we going back on, or did we go through questions?
Go back on for 15 more minutes. I had 2 more questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good. Let's go back on real quick.
Okay.
We haven't done anything, so we're better off going back on.
Yeah, other than talk about slangy fucking tits.
No, I mean, like recently we haven't recorded anything.
Okay. I do have a hard stop at 7.
God. There's no more gyno talk, I'm assuming.
No promises.
Ugh.
There's no more Tim talk is what it comes down to.
Instagram hates you, Tim.
Just Steve, put in your earphones.
I'm just here for the looks from here on
Okay,
out.
apparently we gotta keep it PG, but we don't know how to do that.
I have a hard time. What's the next question, Steve?
Who asked that kind of question? That was a pretty good question.
So,
Sam.
Oh, nice. That's a good question.
Yeah.
What is your biggest recommendation to instill better habits in a new client?
Say it again. Your best
Action.
recommendation to instill good
Yeah.
new habit.
Yeah. What, as a coach, what are your best recommendations for a new client to instill in them new lifestyle habits?
Action. Consistent action. Consistent and continuous action.
I mean, action's a pretty good one. I think I can get on board with that. Like, you know, you could use a whole bunch of different like cool buzzwords there, like dedication, commitment, blah, blah, blah. But all that is going to come back to the reality. You got to step up and you got to do it.
Yep.
And when you do something repeatedly over and over and over again, it becomes routine. Routines become habits.
Yep.
Mhm.
Agreed. Yeah. And somebody has to be willing to put forth that effort to actually get into a new routine that they know their coach is telling them is going to benefit them, right? Because let's you know, I'm sure we'll all agree here, a new routine that's going to be better for them that we're telling them to do is all about consistency, right?
Mhm.
You have to consistently nail that new routine down, or you're not going to wake up automatic every day and have it just like that automatic, you know? So
One thing I will add to this is I think it's the most frustrating thing in the world, and you guys can tell me if you agree or not, when you get a client where you are telling them, you know, pretty simplistic concepts as it relates to them getting results, where it's like, hey, you got to stick to the nutrition. Oh, I'm having a hard time. It's like, okay, well, you got to make sure that you make more time every night to be able to prepare meals, or every morning to be able to prepare meals, hit those meals in advance, set yourself alarms to your phone, whatever you have to do to be able to make that happen. And again, maybe you give, you know, particular information to them via based on their context and their circumstance. But I would say it's the most frustrating thing in the world when you have a client that checks in every single week, right? Week over week over week over a lengthy period of time. And it's just, they lack any type of routine. They lack any type of consistency. They lack any type of habit building. You are not going to get a result from working with any of us or any other coach on the face of the earth if you can't put in the effort to create and sustain new routines and habits over time. That's the bottom line to being able to get a result.
Yep.
There's only so much any of us can do. We can give you meal plans, we can give you macros, we can give you this, we can give you that, we can do that, we can do this. And at the end of the day, if you're not putting in the effort, you're not going to get the result. That's the bottom line. And it's going to start with those routines, specifically around things like food, cardio, gym time.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, what's next?
Do you see a difference in client progression between them training 4 days or 5?
time.
No.
I'm getting a lot of feedback. I don't know if you guys are.
I'm not.
Yeah. So when specifically for bigger guys, I notice a much faster rate of growth and strength when we are on a 4-day split versus a 5. I could say that's true for my bigger clients, myself, significantly with myself. I that's all I have to say about that. I don't have any other evidence other than myself and my clients to say that I definitely notice more progression with the 4-day split for bigger guys specifically.
That's interesting. That's cool.
I
Makes
think
sense.
this is something that I've championed for so many goddamn years, right? Where it's like, and I've gotten pushback over and over and over again from people saying, but I want to train 5 days. I want to train 6 days. I want this. I want that. You know, Matt just said something that I think that I put out. I'm like, listen, when you're a beginner, right? And you're honestly probably not training with a very high level of intensity, very high level of connection as far as the muscle tissue that you're training. Can you get away with training 5 days? Yeah, sure. Because at the end of the day, what's your recovery need based on that level of intensity that you're training? It's probably not a very high demand as far as the recovery is concerned, right? By all means, you'll get away with it. But once you start to get to a point where you are getting a little bit more developed, you're learning how to train at a higher level, you're getting a better mind muscle connection. At the end of the day, what you're doing is you're putting yourself in such a recovery hole, right? That you're going into the gym on that 5th or even 6th day for some people. And that session fucking sucks. You can lie to yourself all you want, but there's no way that session is up. Those sessions are up to par with where you would be if you were training 4 days a week. If you were training 4 days a week, your sessions are going to be of a higher level. You're going to be able to be just, again, that highest level of intensity, that highest level of focus, that highest level of just, honestly being ready to go to the gym and wanting to go to the gym and wanting to tear shit up and train at that level. Like, to me, it's no contest, and am I going to say that you can get better or worse? I think you could always look at specific time frames, you know what I mean, and make a plan that's conducive to that specific time frame where maybe there's a little bit more, going to the gym and trying to plot things out a little bit differently based on a particular phase where somebody's well fed, well drugged, yada, 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 that maybe we can allow for a 5th day in some cases to be able to drive up volume. But realistically, I think that it's, to Matt's point, I think you're ultimately going to get better results if we're looking at it just generally speaking, training in a capacity where you can ultimately recover from it.
Yeah, dude, I think you nailed it 100%. And one thing that I just want to double click on is the whole idea of like the level of intensity and output that you can have when you are at like an elite level of training. Um, like, dude, for my best days, I do 2 movements, two working sets each. One of each movement has an intensifier. Like, I couldn't even fathom doing another set or touching chest again, like in a full capacity. I do one other chest movement a week, but like I could not even fathom doing like another chest day or even another chest movement because of the level of output I could get just from those 4 working sets. Like, I am putting a significant amount of load on any muscle group in training and isolating it as much as possible, even if it's like a compound movement. And like those 2 sets, that's it. Like, I'm done, right? But I think it takes a lot of time, like years. I mean, I've been training literally for 16 years. Like, it takes a lot of time and effort and practice and like actual trying to get better to like get to the point where I think you can get away with that low amount of volume and of course that 4-day split type thing.
I also think that you said the word load, which I don't want to get banned again, but or deleted. But when you say load, I think the one thing to take into consideration there too is like when you are as good at training, right, as somebody like as Matt or somebody that's been training for 16 years or whatever, that load doesn't even need to be. I think some people think, oh, well, he lifts way heavier than me. And it's like, no, dude, he could do that. He could put that same load on the muscle using 2 plates where somebody in their head is thinking he's on 5 plates or 4 plates or whatever. And it's like, no, it's just, it's a skill that's been developed and honed over time. And in some cases, yes, that skill does come with substantial weight, relatively speaking to somebody else, right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily have to correlate in that way. He's going to fry that tissue regardless of the actual like weight that he's lifting based on the load that he's putting on that musculature through the intensifiers, through the connection, through all these different factors.
Yep. Yeah, and I just to kind of touch on with Matt, and I know me and Matt have talked about this before, where like Matt said he started doing like a 2 on, 1 off, right, Matt? I don't want to misspeak.
No.
Yeah, and like
Okay.
and that also allows at that point too, like, see, some people, right, need specific days off, right, for their job, kids, spouse, significant life, work, whatever, right? So when you don't need that, it allows you the benefit of something like that, a 2 on, 1 off, where, realistically, sure, some weeks you might actually get a 5th day in that week, right, Matt? But you're still resting every 3rd day, essentially. So you're sprinkling in more rest than someone, say, doing a bro split, training Monday through Friday and taking the weekends off. By Friday, and now to piggyback on Tim's point, by Friday, if you're doing that, even a 4th or 5th day in a row, when you know how to actually train, right, and you're not just going in there moving dumbbells or machines or weights or a load, and you know how to actually move that load and tax the shit out of the muscle you're trying to, break down at that in that session, you're going to be able to get away with, a lot less and do a lot more, right? So at that point too, like somebody to how Matt or I know how to train and have that skill at this point after all these years developed, we could realistically probably do 3 chest movements, right? And Matt, correct me if I'm wrong. And with 2 working sets each exercise, smoke our chest, and a beginner do 25 sets and still not grow like us.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what I
good
mean?
example, dude. Good examples. I trained chess with Steve's client, Steve Leone.
Yep.
Doing this first show. You guys were at the clinic, right?
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
met him, right?
Yep.
I mean, like obviously he's significantly smaller than me, but so he has a lot more chest volume, bro. I couldn't even get all the way through the workout. I was done. Like my shit would cramp if I moved my arm. It was insane.
Yeah, so with him, we just started to try and get the videos in and all that, and I kind of gave him a break this past week, just being 4 weeks out. I'm like, listen, dude, I just want you to focus on getting in, getting out. Don't set your tripod up, all that, and we're gonna get back into the videos afterward because he's still learning to train. To your point, Nat, you know what I
This one
mean?
is good. This one
Yeah,
is good.
yeah. From what I've seen, we've been honing in on it the whole prep, and this week I just kind of told him to cut it just so he can get in and get out. Because I don't want him wasting an extra 10 minutes setting up tripods and shit right now. I just want him in and out. So, but yeah, he's to your point, right? Yeah, like you said, and his volumes actually just got lowered. So
All right. What else you got, Steve? Because we only got a couple minutes here.
that was my last question.
Oh, awesome.
Nice.
Sweet. Word up.
All right. Thank you everyone for listening. We'll catch you guys next week. Maybe.
See ya.
Bye.